Why you keep checking your phone even when you know it's hurting your relationship. You know it bothers them. You've seen the look on their face. You've maybe even promised, out loud, that you'd put it down during dinner, during a conversation, during the 10 minutes you have together before bed. And yet, a few hours later, there you are. Phone in hand. Not even sure what you're looking for. This isn't really a story about willpower. It's a story about how your brain has been quietly trained, and by something far more precise than most people realize. 1. It's not about the content. It's about the uncertainty. Here's a strange fact about human behavior. If you knew, every single time, exactly what your phone would show you, nothing important, no new messages, no likes, you'd stop checking it almost immediately. Boredom kills a habit fast. But that's not what's happening. Sometimes you check and there's nothing. Sometimes there's a message that makes your whole day better. Sometimes there's an argument, or bad news, or something that makes your stomach drop. You never know which one it's going to be. And that uncertainty is not incidental. It's the entire mechanism. Psychologists call this variable ratio reinforcement, a reward that arrives unpredictably, rather than every single time. It was first studied by B.F. Skinner. But a 2003 study published in the journal Science, by Fiorillo, Tobler, and Schultz, showed exactly why unpredictability is so powerful at the level of the brain itself. They found that dopamine doesn't only fire when a reward arrives. It builds gradually while waiting, and that buildup is strongest not when a reward is guaranteed, and not when it's unlikely, but when the outcome is genuinely uncertain. Somewhere close to a coin flip. Your brain isn't rewarding you for checking your phone. It's rewarding you for not knowing what you'll find. 2. Why this is different from willpower. This matters, because it changes the question. The question isn't, why don't I have enough self-control? The more accurate question is, why would any brain resist a system specifically engineered to exploit uncertainty? This is the same mechanism that makes slot machines effective. Not because people enjoy losing money. Because they never know which pull might be the one that pays off. Your phone runs on the same principle, just dressed differently. A notification badge. A message preview. A refresh that might show something new, or might not. None of this happened by accident. Attention is the product being sold, and unpredictability is what keeps you engaged with it. That doesn't mean you're broken, or weak, or addicted in some dramatic clinical sense. It means you have a normal human brain, sitting inside a system built to take advantage of exactly how that brain works. 3. What this has to do with your relationship. So here's where it becomes personal. Your partner isn't just competing with a phone. They're competing with a system precision engineered to be more immediately rewarding than almost anything else in the room, including them. A conversation with your partner is often slower. It requires patience, presence, sometimes discomfort. A notification is instant. It asks nothing of you. And your brain, given the choice between a small guaranteed effort and a small chance at something unexpectedly good, will often lean toward the unpredictable option, not because it's more meaningful, but because it's more stimulating in the moment. This is why willpower alone often fails here. You're not choosing the phone over your partner because you value it more. You're responding to a reward system that was quite literally built to be more compelling than ordinary, patient, human connection. 4. The habit loop nobody notices. This is where it becomes automatic. At first, checking your phone might have been a conscious choice. Over time, it becomes a habit loop, a cue, a routine, and a reward, repeated so often that it stops requiring a decision at all. A lull in conversation becomes the cue. Reaching for the phone becomes the routine. Whatever you find, or don't find, becomes the reward, or the reason to check again. And because this loop is reinforced unpredictably, it becomes resistant to extinction, a term researchers use to describe how hard a behavior is to unlearn once it's been trained this way. That's part of why just stop checking your phone rarely works as advice. You're not fighting a bad decision. You're fighting a loop that's been running, quietly, hundreds of times a day, for years. 5. Why this doesn't excuse the impact. None of this means the phone gets a pass. Understanding the mechanism isn't the same as excusing the outcome. Your partner doesn't experience your dopamine system. They experience a conversation that stopped. Eye contact that broke. A story they were telling that trailed off because you looked away. The psychology explains why it happens. It doesn't erase what it does to the person across the table. And that's an important distinction, because some people use "my brain is wired this way" as a reason to stop trying. The more useful response is the opposite. Because this loop is powerful, it needs a deliberate system to interrupt it, not just good intentions in the moment. 6. What actually interrupts the loop? Habit research points to a consistent finding: the most effective way to break an automatic loop isn't willpower in the moment. It's changing the cue, before the loop even starts. That might look like physically leaving the phone in another room during a conversation that matters, removing the cue entirely, rather than trying to resist it once it's in front of you. Turning off non-essential notifications, so fewer moments become triggers in the first place. Creating a specific, boring, unstimulating way to check, like scheduled windows, instead of leaving it open to unpredictable checking all day, which is what keeps the reinforcement loop alive. None of these fixes require more self-discipline. They work with how the brain actually operates, instead of demanding it override a system built to resist override. Maybe the most useful reframe is this: you're not failing at loving your partner enough when you check your phone during a conversation. You're responding to one of the most effective behavioral engineering systems ever built, sitting in your pocket, always available, always slightly unpredictable. But your partner still isn't a notification. They're not competing for a slice of your attention algorithmically, they're asking for something a phone was never designed to offer. Presence that isn't waiting for the next possible reward. And maybe the real skill isn't resisting your phone in the moment. It's noticing, ahead of time, when the loop is about to start, and deciding, before your hand even moves, what you actually want your attention to be for.